Hello. Today I want to talk about what a truss is and how I used it during the process of healing my inguinal hernia without surgery. This will also be a bit of a review of the comfort truss, which is the type of truss that I used during the process. So firstly, I want to explain what a truss is. A truss essentially is a type of belt that puts pressure on the outside of the body to help keep your hernia in. So you can imagine this is supposed to be a little picture. You've got your intestines in red, the abdominal wall in blue, and then that's just your skin with the black line. So you can imagine your internal organs put pressure on your abdominal wall. If you have a hernia, your abdominal wall has a reduced capacity to contain that pressure. And so the hernia will end up popping out, coming through the abdominal wall, and then if you have a direct inguinal hernia, you will then notice you have a bulge. Now, if you want to keep the hernia in, if you put pressure on the outside by using the truss, essentially you're just helping the abdominal wall. And so for the hernia it doesn't entirely stop the possibility of a hernia popping out, but it means that, let's say the amount of pressure in your internal organs for the hernia to pop out is a 5, maybe it raises the pressure to, for example, a 6. These are arbitrary numbers, but it raises the amount of pressure. And so the amount of times you'll have a hernia throughout the day, throughout the week, will be reduced by this extra aid that you have. And at the beginning of the process of trying to heal my inguinal hernia, I would wear this most of the time. So I would wear it essentially, well, let's say when I wouldn't wear it. I wouldn't wear it in bed. I wouldn't wear it if I was going to be pretty lazy that day and just stay around the house and watching telly, that kind of stuff. And yeah, but as soon as I kind of was getting up, being active, doing anything, I would put the hernia straight on, and I would wear it for, as I said, most of the day. So yes, let me just talk to you the specifics of the comfort truss, and this applies to most truss, but it should be useful for figuring out which one you want if you choose to buy one. So this is made of neoprene, so it's like a surfing, like a wetsuit kind of material, and everything is Velcro based, which means obviously you can adjust the sizes as much as you want. You have a leg hole, so you put the leg through here, and then you have kind of this belt around the waist. So your leg goes through here, and then this section here covers the hernia. There's a pad inside, and so you can imagine this part of the belt is thicker, and so this thicker part of the belt puts pressure over the hernia and helps keep it in. I used to have it tight, but not overly tight. If it was overly tight, it put pressure on my hips, and the extra pressure wasn't actually helpful. I just needed a little bit more pressure to, as I said, help aid my abdominal wall keeping my intestines in, and that would reduce the probability of me having a hernia. For example, let's say I didn't wear the belt, maybe I had hernia 4 times a day. If I wore it, maybe I had it once a day. It was significantly improving it. It would be hard to give me an exact percentage, but it definitely made a big difference. So yes, that's how you do it. I really like the hernia belt. What would I say about this? It's really thin, really lightweight. I could use it going swimming. I think the inventor of this, George Hurst, he's into surfing, and so he invented this because he wanted a hernia belt in part because he wanted to take into the water. It works really well for that. I could wear it under my swim shorts and no one could tell. I would also say, yeah, I bought several of these. It lasts for about 3 months because over time, the stretchiness of the materials goes, which is understandable, and the Velcro kind of gets a bit worse, but for 3 months, it's really good. I'd also recommend getting several. One, if you can use it in water, you don't want to wear one wet, so you bring one and you wear that in the pool or the beach, and then you have to change into the other one afterwards. There was a time when I got quite skinny as well, and so I actually needed a little bit extra pressure than normal, and so I took one of these pads from one of the spare belts that I had, and I put it in, so I had like a double padding for that period of time. What else did I want to say? I mentioned limitations, like it does work and it does reduce the chance of the hernia coming out, but it's not foolproof. It gave me more confidence, and yeah, it gave me a lot more confidence. It allowed me to live a far more normal life, but I still, at least initially, I didn't have confidence to say go out lifting weights or running or anything like this, because even though it helped, it wasn't foolproof. So I still needed to figure out how to strengthen the abdominal wall such that I could wean myself off of it. It doesn't actually, I don't think it helps strengthen the abdominal wall itself. So while this is an aid, it doesn't fix the inguinal hernia. I have a slight theory that it might help. Interestingly enough, there's a guy called Julien Pinot. He has a YouTube channel called StrongFit. Unfortunately, he's taken down the video. He's taken down, all but one, I think, at this stage, which is a real shame, because he had this idea about neoprene, which I think is a really interesting coincidence that the George used neoprene. So let me back up a little bit. Julien Pinot was into strength training, and he ended up using neoprene to help athletes get greater proprioception and muscular engagement. And so he would get athletes to basically wear swimsuit bottoms, for example, they're doing squats, because it would help the quality of the squats. So even though I'm saying it doesn't actually help the inguinal hernia, there's part of me that suspects that the belt might have helped me gain greater proprioception of my abdominal wall, which is obviously a help. Another way that it might have helped, this is very speculative, if you look into Chinese medicine, the lower jiao, the lower abdominal region, is typically cold. I certainly can attest to that. If I touched around the area of my hernia, often the skin was cold to the touch. I think there was worse blood flow to the region. And so if you're wearing this, I could wear it in the summer, but it would definitely get slightly hotter under here than without it. And so I wonder if by wearing this, you're also increasing some heat to the area, and heat brings blood flow, which is going to bring nutrients, which also potentially might help the healing process. But as I said, that's not the primary function. It's just a potential other benefit. Yeah, I think I've covered everything really. When to use it, as I said, I used it all the time. One slightly tricky thing was how to wean off it. I got so used to it, it gave me confidence to do everything, and so taking it off actually became its own hurdle, which I think is in part a testament to the product. It's super helpful. I also like the fact that you can't put excessive pressure on. It becomes, because everything's soft and it's elasticated. So as I said, I wouldn't wear it super tight because it became uncomfortable with the hips. I just wanted a little bit of pressure, but there's nothing hard in there. I think when I look at other designs of hernia belts, of Truss, one worry I have is if you're putting too much pressure, like imagine this isn't a flat surface but has like a real bulge and you're digging in. I worry with some designs of whether you actually inhibit the blood flow at all. If you're putting lots of pressure on this region, then you're not going to get blood in. And how is the tissue going to heal if you're reducing the blood flow? Like I said, heat and some, but a limited amount of pressure is helpful, and ultimately my goal, and potentially your goal, is to heal the hernia without surgery. And so, as I said, you want to keep the hernia in to allow the tissues to heal, but you also don't want excessive pressure such that you don't get good blood flow to allow to bring nutrients and things of that nature to the damaged tissue. So I hope this is useful. If you have any questions, do leave them below, and thank you for watching.